Hi, thank you for your interest in learning more about a new drug product being developed by Sano Chemicals. Vaginal yeast infections are a common health issue, and for millions of women, there has been no new effective therapy to treat these infections. There is an urgent unmet medical need for those afflicted with recurrent vulvovaginal candidiasis, which has significant impact on quality of life. Recurrent vulvovaginal candidiasis is defined as having a vulvovaginal candidiasis infection 3 or more times a year. For convenience, the remainder of this presentation, I will refer to vulvovaginal candidiasis and recurrent vulvovaginal candidiasis as VVC and RVVC. Up to 9% of women have no access to an effective treatment for RVVC, in which the FDA recognizes as a serious infectious disease. A new therapeutic to alleviate this health concern for 9 million women in the US and over 130 million women worldwide is drastically needed. Vaginal yeast infections are caused by yeast that are resistant to current antifungal therapeutics. Further, current therapies only suppress the growth of the yeast, and there have been no improvements in these therapies for over 20 years. While on the contrary, the novel antifungal being developed by Sano is able to rapidly kill and remove the yeast causing the infection. An effective therapy for those afflicted with RVVC is an area of unmet medical need. The symptoms of these infections include severe pain during urination, rash, swelling and redness of the vulva, clumpy or watery vaginal discharge, possibly an unpleasant odor, and pain during sex. The infection also has its significant impact on the quality of life for those living with this condition. These include higher rates of clinical depression, anxiety and stress, lost time at work or reduced work productivity, and an avoidance of sexual intimacy. Existing antifungal products are still used for the treatment of chronic yeast infections. These drugs, which are also important for the treatment of invasive fungal infections, are being overprescribed. The overprescription of these drugs are thought to be attributed to the observed increase in clinical resistance. Thus, there is a growing interest in the development of a new drug product to treat resistant VVC infections. In addition, there are other concerns with existing treatment options. These drugs are becoming less and less effective for the treatment of VVC. These drugs can interfere with birth control medication and prescription drugs. They also cause unwanted side effects, and long-term use is attributed to kidney and liver toxicity. Lastly, patient compliance for taking the full dosage is low, given that they often make them feel sick. This leads to a recurrence of the infection and is presumed to contribute to the increase in drug resistance to current therapies. Common VVC yeast infections account for the total addressable market and are often treated with an intravaginal over-the-counter product. VVC occurs in 40 to 45% of women in the US. Acute VVC yeast infections account for the serviceable available market. About half of all VVC infections are classified as acute infections. These are classified by patients that seek medical attention for the infection. These are treated with a prescription medication such as diflucan. The issue is that these therapies are becoming less and less effective over time. Recurrent vulvovaginal candidiasis infections are the target market for the novel intravaginal product under development at Sano Chemicals. This accounts for 15% of all VVC incidents and is a large market comprising up to 9 million women annually in the US. As little as 5% of cases of VVC were once caused by non-albicans species. At present, the non-albicans VVC infections account for about 30% of VVC cases. Some reports are as high as 45%. A likely cause is the increasing use of azole class of drugs like diflucan, which is shifting the yeast population to the drug-resistant non-albicans species. The number of doses of diflucan have nearly doubled within a 10-year period, likely attributed to the need of higher doses to treat resistant yeast. The intravaginal product being developed by cyanochemicals target the infection at the site of infection, unlike diflucan. Current antifungal treatments, like diflucan, exposes the individual's whole body to the drug. This contributes to unwanted off-target activities, such as exposing the yeast that reside in our gastrointestinal tract to the antifungal agent. This non-selective off-target effects are suspected to be the cause in the increase in the prevalence of the drug-resistant non-albicans species. Occidiofungin is a natural product produced by a bacterium found in soil. This bacterium was found to support plant growth by inhibiting fungi that cause plant disease. Its plant growth-promoting ability was later found to be attributed to the bacterium's ability to produce Occidiofungin. Occidiofungin was found to inhibit a broad spectrum of fungi and was determined to be a potent antifungal against the yeast that cause vaginal infections. At Cyanochemicals, their scientific team engineered the production of the potent antifungal agent for the development OCF001 for the treatment of drug-resistant vaginal yeast infections. Occidiofungin is a potent first-in-class antifungal therapeutic, meaning that it is not similar to any existing antifungal on the market. Given the novelty of this important newly discovered antifungal, it is also being developed into other therapeutic products for the treatment of other types of fungal infections. Occidiofungin has a unique mechanism of action to inhibit and kill fungal infections. In this figure to my left, it shows the effect of Occidiofungin on yeast at a concentration below what is needed to kill. Panel A shows a no-treatment control, and Panel B shows vaginal yeast treated with half the concentration needed to inhibit the fungi. The arrows demarcate visible changes in the yeast cell. One change highlighted by the black arrows is the complete loss of coat proteins on the outside of the cells. The white arrow shows the accumulation of inclusion bodies within the cell. These coat protein are important for infection by allowing the yeast to adhere to themselves and to the vaginal cavity. This observation shows that not only does Occidiofungin have the ability to kill yeast at low concentrations of the drug, at low micromolar to submicromolar concentrations, it also inhibits the yeast from staying at the site of infection. Moreover, Occidiofungin is active against the yeast that are resistant to current therapies. The OCF001 drug product for the treatment of RVVC holds great promise for those currently left without an effective treatment and will make a significant impact on their quality of health and life. Current preclinical tests have shown OCF001 to be safe and did not have any liver or kidney toxicity that is associated with the other available treatments. IND application was submitted to the FDA and was recently approved by the agency. We were given approval to proceed with Phase 1 clinical studies for our new product to effectively treat RVVC using OCF001. The FDA approval covers a full set of SAD and MAD clinical studies. We anticipate FDA drug approval by year 2026 or 2027. The Generating Antibiotic Incentives Now Act passed in 2012 provides a clearer path for the development of new antibiotics to treat serious infectious diseases. The FDA has granted Cyanochemicals Fast Track and Qualified Infectious Disease Product designations to help expedite the clinical development of a much-needed new product for the treatment of RVVC. The potent fungicidal activity of Occidiofungin against albicans and non-albicans yeast will support its application. Further, unlike current ineffective treatments, OCF001 does not need any long-term concurrent therapies. Given the ability of Occidiofungin to not only kill yeast at the site of infection, it also inhibits the ability of the yeast to reside in the vaginal cavity. Unlike current treatments which take at least 6 months, it is expected that a single daily application of OCF001 for 3 to 5 days is all that is needed to eliminate the yeast infection. Further, OCF001 targets the infection site unlike other therapies that have off-target gastrointestinal activity. This off-target activity is believed to be the leading cause for the observed increase in non-albicans infections and the likely increase in resistant fungi in the clinic. The active ingredient in OCF001 intravaginal gel is a first-in-class antifungal with fungicidal activity with applications for the treatment of oral, vaginal, dermal, and invasive fungal infections. The rapid and potent fungicidal activity of this antifungal, named Occidiofungin, will be the first antifungal drug capable curing recurrent and drug-resistant fungal infections. The OCF001 provides several advantages from a clinical and patient compliance perspective. The use of an intravaginal applicator directly delivers Occidiofungin to the site of infection, thus eliminating the need to take medicine that can make you nauseous or uncomfortable. There is no need of extensive education or training, given that the route of application is commonly used by other intravaginally administered drugs. Further, there is existing insurance reimbursement codes available for vulvovaginal candidiasis and recurrent vulvovaginal candidiasis drug products. The use of OCF001 to treat RVVC will be economically favorable. A short single application per day for 3 to 5 days at the site of infection will alleviate the infection. Comparing this treatment regimen to the only other FDA-approved drug for the treatment of RVVC, the application of OCF001 provides a competitive advantage and more appealing treatment option. Vulvovaginal, marketed by Mycovia for the treatment of RVVC, requires a 6-month dosage regimen. The drug is a fungistatic antifungal that belongs to an existing class of antifungals with a known high rate of drug resistance. Sano Chemicals' drug product OCF001 will reduce the time needed for those with RVVC to recover and minimize the time loss at work and quality time with family. A full set of toxicology studies, enabling Phase 1 human testing, demonstrated that the OCF001 drug product is safe. An investigational new drug application was approved by the FDA to proceed with Phase 1 clinical studies. Further, the manufacturing process of the drug product for clinical trials was thoroughly vetted by the FDA. Sano has multiple patents protecting the use of Occidiofungin in drug product formulations. Patents on composition and use, and the manufacture of antifungal have been issued in US, Europe, and Asia. There are also multiple pending patent applications. Sano has a highly talented team of business, scientific, and clinical experts with decades of experience in operating biotechnology companies and creating growth drivers for strategic partnerships.